the hardest question by far. So let's start with you, Joe. Can I have your name and title here at OnDefend?
I am Joe Brinkley and the Director of Offensive Security at Tradecraft, and there's a couple commas, but it just means that I am the technical director.
Love it. Ryan, what is your name and title?
My name is Ryan Tucker. If I forgot that, that'd be bad. I'm a senior tradecraft engineer at OnDefend. So I guess it means if it has to do with malware or offensive anything, I do it. There's a caveat asterisk there. I don't do everything, but I do a large portion of it.
Kind of leads me to my next question. I think when everyone thinks of your guys' jobs, they imagine you in hoodies in a dark room typing furiously. And I have learned that is not the case. So, Joe, kick us off. What exactly do you do?
As Ryan was saying, really, if it deals with tradecraft, and tradecraft by definition is what we identify as our capability of anything that we could put in a bucket and pull out. It becomes a capability, and that capability is related to cybersecurity in the sense of can we get to the data? Can we get to the data with of the premise of access? Can we get to the data with premise of a exploit through a vulnerability, or can we get to the data in a means of a lot of roundabout ways of sending out phishing, getting access, gaining access, and after that, are we able to get information back? So a lot of that deals with our capability inside of Blind Spot, which is our breach and adversarial simulation tool that allows us to emulate threat actors, which we also do a lot of. So they have tradecraft, we learn their tradecraft, we emulate their tradecraft.
Yeah. Ryan, I mean, what primarily kinds of services are you guys doing with this? I'm sure a lot of pen testing in your life. A lot of pen testing in your life.
Yeah, a lot of there's a lot of different things that can fall under offensive ops. We do a lot of pen testing. Red teaming is in there, so more of a adversarial simulation role with a hands-on keyboard type person or team. We do a lot of purple team, especially with Blind Spot. We run a lot of purple team engagements, both with the blue team or SOC or whoever's running the defenses knowing, and some without. But we do pretty much everything except blue team. It seems like, although as you start to dive deeper into red teaming and threat simulation and emulation, you have to do blue teaming to some extent, or at least understand how it works. So we kind of wear all of the hats at this point.
Yeah. I mean, so how do you even break into this industry?
Oh, the break-in question. Well, most of the time I see, a bit me again being a little bit older than Ryan here. I definitely my break-in was different because there was this oddly beset path that you had to go and to be part of a official cybersecurity team or infosec team, information security. You had to go get a CISSP or some kind of arbitrary cert that almost had nothing to do with your technical capability, because the CISSP is not a technical cert, it is a compliance level cert. And so I said, okay, if that's what all these guys in this cybersecurity room, infosec room, are telling me, and the security room, we just called it computer security room, are telling me, that's what I'll do. And I went and did it. And there I was, finally in the industry.
And
yeah,
Ryan?
I mean, breaking in for me is a little different, or was a little different, and it's even different now. The amount of resources that exist they're abundant. There's so many more resources that I wish I had, and weren't even blips on the map when Joe was doing this. So I think breaking in is significantly easier now. I have a degree. I have a 4-year bachelor's degree in information technology and data and networking security. So I went the school route, but my degree is technically in IT. It's in networking. So like I went through like all the Cisco routing and switching, and how does the enterprise level network function? Knowing that I was going to go into offensive security, but also knowing I probably should get a degree. I competed on a collegiate cyber defense team, so there was college competitions for it. So that really got me exposed by force. You kind of drink from a fire hose very quickly and very early. So then when I graduated and had the opportunity to get a job, I wasn't doing something like help desk or system administration. I jumped directly to a security analyst and very quickly moved to offensive security, doing OffSec work. I do have certs. I did do the certs. I have my OSCP, so which is your, I guess, entry level OffSec cert, although that's arguable. That's a completely different conversation, but I do have some certs. I do have some training. But as far as initially getting in, it was free resources at the time, and a degree.
Yeah. I mean, Joe, you speak to a lot of people trying to encourage them to break in. You go to all these cons. What is always your biggest takeaway to these people? Where and how?
Again, right, as Ryan said, there's a lot of new capability. Just so much learning can be done out there now. And it's definitely a matter of I still suggest any form of education, whether it's a traditional 4-year degree or certifications. I, for the longest time, only had my experience and then got certifications and then was able to have a transitional period where I was like again, information security, endpoint security, cyber threat unit to finally offensive security. And what all of those job titles essentially meant is that I was in charge of a piece of tooling or product that was what brought you into security back in the day, right? It was this mid 2000s transition of like, well, you're running a security tool, so that means you're in security. Well, kind of yes, but also no. But then it became, hey, you have experience and you've done these things, and we can actually, now use your experience because, hey, offensive security is actually a job role. Little did we know hacking would literally become a actual, almost legitimized job. So a lot of the time when I reach out to the young folks and I say, all right, so you got it. I know you just got your degree, but you got to get some certifications because the degree proves you can study and you have information. The certifications show that you can do the thing in those certifications, whether it's the OSCP, a CEH, an EJPT, any kind of Pentester certification means, okay, you can likely pen test, but there's different aspects of, okay, can you do reverse engineering? Can you do malware development? Can you do these things? And so there's more and more certifications coming with those kinds of titles in it. And so that'll really help you prove to your employers that you can do it. While experience is key, it's hard to show experience when you're green, when you can't put on a piece of paper that sits in front of, folks like myself. And if I can't tell that you can do it within the first 10 seconds of reading your resume, I've got a ton of other resumes and a ton of work to do. So I really need to know that you can do it. And certifications can definitely help do that.
Yeah. Ryan, I mean, you mentioned you had a great article about becoming an ethical hacker where basically you said, I think the biggest issue nowadays is you somehow need experience to get into entry level jobs, and somehow you have to have 5 to 7 years, and it doesn't make sense. But you had a pretty good way to kind of navigate that.
Yeah, it definitely is hard, and it's interesting because like there's always jokes and stuff flying around like you need experience to get experience, and like a new framework will come out and it'll be like needs 10 years of experience, and it's like out for like a week. But that's really how the industry works, and it's super frustrating because I remember when I was breaking in and I was just out of college and I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna do the thing. And then everyone's like, oh, you're so green, like we just don't want you. There's a easier path than just brute forcing it and just throwing your application everywhere. You definitely can do it. And eventually it will work, right? That the numbers eventually will add up. But there are other things you can do. You can go get certs. You can do online labs. Try Hack Me's out there. Hack the Box is out there. Pentester Academy's out there. The eLearn certs are out there. The amount of certifications and training available at this point for a significantly lower cost point than it existed in the past there's so much of it.
Of course, yeah.
You kind of just have to pick what you want to do and then find some way to practice it. If you can do it yourself, if you can build a lab, set up a network, that's great, because when you get into an interview, it's something to talk about. Showing up for an interview and just being like, I have a degree, or I have a cert, or like, okay, great, that means you were dedicated and you had discipline for 2 weeks, 2 months, maybe a year. Whereas if you have this trend over time of you spent the time to build the thing, then you learned the thing, now you practice with the thing, whatever it is, malware reversing, network engineering, you're going to build a red team, blue team lab and play both sides, even if it's just hack the box, right? Like, not everybody probably does it, because not everybody wants to go into OffSec. Some people just want to play CTFs for fun. That's totally cool. Where Hack the Box differs from other CTFs is it is directly linked, in my opinion, I'm not going to talk for everyone, to your pen testing, or you're doing a red team engagement. You're learning new skills, but you're still following a methodology that's realistic in the real world. And it gets you experience, and it gets you used to a workflow, so that you have something to talk about. Right now you're going to an interviewer, and instead of just being like, oh yeah, I did the certification, right? They get 10 applications a day that did the certification. But if you say, I broke into, compromised, and reported on X amount of boxes and hacked the box, now they have something to talk to you about. Maybe they know what it is, maybe they don't, but now they can ask, and now you can have a conversation, a dialogue that they probably don't have with everyone. And you kind of change. Now your pool of candidates that are matching you is significantly smaller. You have to stand out, and you need experience to get experience. So you have to get creative on what you do.
That's actually specifically how I interview for positions here at OnDefend. Is I'll ask you, all right, what was, without telling me a client or being too crazy, what was the last pen test you did? What was the key moment in that pen test? What did it feel like? How did you go about discovering this thing? Rather than those, kind of standard, oh, what's port 53? No, I want to know, can you do this job? And the best way for me to do that is to kind of hear about your experience, or even if it's a fictitious experience, if I can gather from you that you understand the ethical hacker process, the pen test process, and some kind of standard around it, that's what gets you a job here.
Yeah. I think to wrap up this little section, what is your one piece of advice for someone wanting to get into this field? Because again, it is the firefighter, lawyer, news anchor part of cybersecurity. It's the glitz and the glamour. But what is like one true, honest fact about this job that you wish people knew, or that you wish you knew when you got into this role? The tough questions.
I'll go first, Joe. So
okay.
I'll let you think on that. So for me, there's really two things that it breaks down to. I'm going to take your one thing and make it two. Discipline and extracurricular activities. In school, it's significantly easier because you're not confined by a 9-to-5 job. You're not working already 40 hours a week, and then you have to go home and feed your dog, and you have to play with your kids, and obviously hang out with your spouse, and etc. Right? Like, there's only so many hours in a day. Health is definitely important. So, the amount of time where you can do a career switch is absolutely minimal. So that one's more for the people who have more time, maybe are working a part-time job, or a college student where they can be flexible. What I mean by that is you have to do things outside of your normal process. You have to do the hack the box. You have to do the try hack me. You have to work on certifications, and you have to be disciplined. That's point number 2. To continue doing those things. We work with skills that deteriorate. They disappear. If you don't use them, they're gone. A couple months, you forget things. That's why we have hundreds of pages of notes and wikis everywhere. But you have to work on the things outside of normal work hours. It's no different for us. We work our 9-to-5s and we do our day job, but then, there's 3,000 tweets that came out today that we gotta at least browse real fast to see if, a new O day dropped or something, and we have to be aware of it. But also discipline. You got to be on top of it, and you got to want it. You can absolutely do this job and just, be another Joe. That's probably bad because Joe's sitting here, but
Yeah.
you can be another normal guy, you know, like, or girl. You can do this and be totally fine,
Yeah.
and not really put in the extra work. But if you put in the extra work, it's much more rewarding, and it'll take you farther faster. So
Yeah.
I'll
No.
echo that, and it's easy to be another 9 to 5er. It's totally possible. And you'll do fine in this industry. But when you're passionate and you have passion about it and you develop certain capabilities and ongoing, you'll start to stick out of the crowd. You'll be able to be easily employable. If people know your name from Twitter or social media or research you've done, a blog you've produced, you'll it's one of those things you'll never be without a job. The industry will continue to care about you. So when you're breaking in, you should do those things. When you're in the industry, you should do those things, producing research, writing those blogs, helping people get in, because everybody will remember those things. And I think the thing that I was going to say, I echo everything Ryan said. The thing that I would say that I wish I would have known when I got in, that this field is incredibly difficult. It's honest. It's got great people in it. It's got bad people in it. It's got folks that are brilliant. It's got folks, again, that are just doing a 9 to 5. It's just a job to them. And all of those things are okay. Trying to be the next insert really famous person here isn't going to do yourself a favor. You should be the next you. You should be able to come into this industry and say, I like doing this, and be okay at doing just that. And you don't have to become a social media celebrity. You don't have to become a O-Day writer. You can literally be the guy who just pen test really good. And if you write about your methodologies and you do those things, you're still going to be a very valuable piece of this community, of this industry, and your contributions will never not go unnoticed. And I think that's, it's one of those things I see a lot. And that's my big advice to folks who want to get in. Doing those things will get you in. Doing those things will keep you in. And I think, the thing that I wish I would have known earlier was some of those things, because there was certainly times that it was probably easier for me to go back and just do security architecture and do these other things instead of just continuing to push for advancements and now writing malware and tooling and being happy with it. And it's been significantly good change in pace for me to do those things. And you got to find your pace. And it's okay that it's not the super ethical hacker that you were a few years ago. And that's fine.